My name is Wendy McClellan. I have been coming to this group since 2008. Corinne has seen me through the darkest time of my life, and I would not be here without her help and her love. And I am going to talk to you guys tonight a little bit about that journey, about what I went through, because if I can get out, anybody else can get out too. So I have tons of notes. Hopefully I won't forget to say something that you guys need to hear. But first what we're going to start with is I want us to kind of get in the mode, right? Just kind of get in the feel of things, and we're going to do some meditation to kind of set the mood with what we want to learn. So this is the music from Corinne's track. But first, everybody just kind of close your eyes. Just kind of focus yourself. Root your feet on the ground. Take a deep breath in. And let it out. Do another one. Deep inhalation. Hold it up top. Let it out. Let all your tension go. Just relax. Be in the now. Only focus on what's happening right now. Now I want you to think of a time when you were on the ball, when you felt really put together. It can be a big moment in your life, like a graduation or a wedding. Or it can be the time that you actually picked the fastest line at Safeway. Whatever it is, keep that in your mind. Everybody remember how it felt? Feel good to be together, to know that you had what it took. So hang on to that. I want you to grab onto that feeling of happiness and contentment. And I want you to feed it. I want you to let it grow and embrace you. Take another deep breath in. Let it out. Okay, you guys can open your eyes. Does everybody remember what that feels like, right? Just okay, I did it. This is good. So now, how many of us thought that that's the way we were going to feel after the holidays were over? I mean, I did. I thought, oh, God, okay, they're done, right?
Not going to be overwhelmed anymore.
Right. I can do my normal to-do list, fine. Well, suddenly my normal to-do list is 15 pages long. And I'm like, okay, well, now I got to do this. Oh, no, wait, now I got to take out the lights outside. Okay, no, wait, I got to add that to the list. Did I put that away in the right box? I mean, come on. We all felt it, right? So now all of a sudden, it's the new year, and then to top it all off, we've got resolutions, right? I mean, I made some resolutions. Who else made some resolutions? Anybody? Anybody want to share what they did? Spencer?
I want to quit my job and take my business to the next level. So that's my
Good
resolution.
Good for you. Anybody else? Other than, okay.
Do you think maybe it's an intention?
Yes. Yes, absolutely it is. And we're going
Because
to talk about
some
that.
of us made intentions. Yeah.
That's actually what I did this year too, is we set intentions, not resolutions. Because I was tired of,
Breaking up?
yeah, well, like by the second week in January going, I can't
know.
believe I failed already,
Yeah.
right? I mean, seriously, I haven't lost 40 pounds yet, so I don't know what the problem is. I was tired of feeling like that. So I did the same thing. We set intentions. So, how many of you have that voice in your head, though, that have told you already, it's January 12th, and you didn't do it yet? Yeah? It's not just me, right? Please tell me it's not just me. Okay. So, who told you that you haven't succeeded yet? Yourself? That voice that sits in the back of your head and just is like, that one? Yeah. What maybe you just haven't gotten there yet. Maybe this is all part of the process. So I am going to get back to that little voice that's sitting there nagging at you. But right now I want you to think about the intentions you set. Tell everything else to just sit on the back burner. Because tonight we're going to be talking about you. We're going to be talking about you becoming your own boss. And I don't mean with the business, I mean with your life. I'm going to tell you stuff that you guys already know. That's awesome. So now you're just going to hear it again, and maybe tonight something I say is going to spark something that is going to help you take off with it. Or you're going to hear it a different way. Or you're just going to go, oh, I knew that. Why am I not doing that? Okay? So I just want you to kind of listen, take notes. I gave you a cheat sheet with some of the stuff I'm going to be talking about. So just whatever Spirit guides you to hear, I hope that it's exactly what you need. I want your 2014, I got the year right. I want your 2014 to be the best that you have ever had. I can't do that for you though. You have to do that for you. You have to set the intention, this is going to be the best dang year ever, and I'm going to be on the ball, and I'm going to feel that way when I got the close parking lot, the parking spot, you know, the one that you can never get into. You want to feel that way all the time. That's what I want for your 2014. I want you to be excited. I want you to feel passion. And more than anything, I want you to feel happy. Just happy to be in this life. So I hope that what I tell you tonight will help build a strong foundation so that you can do that for yourself in 2014. So personal empowerment. Everybody hears it. It's a key phrase in any self-help book, anything you read on the internet. We talk about it all the time, right? I am personally empowered, right? I mean, you're kind of like, well, what is that? Well, why do you care? Well, I want to teach you tonight how to reclaim your power. By doing that, you'll increase your self-confidence and your self-respect. And you will feel like you are on the right path. When you take back your power, a whole new world is at your feet. I was able to do things I never thought I could because I finally gave myself permission to do them. You're going to learn what you need in life, what you want in life, and how to release what no longer serves you. And guess what? It's okay to do that. Personal empowerment means something different to everybody. It means something different to me. It means something different to Kristen. It means something different completely to Corinne. It's not a magic pill, though. I can't hand out some elixir and say, here, drink this. You're all here. I can't do that. It's a lot. I wish I could. It's a lot of work. Sometimes it is painful work. And you have to be willing to do it. So you have to be in the right frame of mind. It takes a lot of courage to take back your power. It's not always easy, and it's really not always pretty, but you can do it. The one thing that I want to put out there before I get any further is don't be afraid of it. And more importantly, don't be afraid to ask for help. I thought I had to do it all by myself. I really did. One time, Corinne and I were talking about something. She's like, why didn't you just say something? Oh, I can do that? Yeah, even if I wasn't going to ask Corinne for help. You ask the universe for help. You ask spirit, you ask your God, you ask whatever. You put it out there as an intention. And what you need comes to you. I am standing here today because I did that. Without it, people I needed came into my life. Things I needed came into my life. Some things happened, and I would be like, why the heck? What's going on? Because it was exactly what I needed. So personal empowerment, like I said, is unique to everybody. So to give you kind of a perspective as to what I think about personal empowerment, I'm going to tell you what it means to me. It means understanding myself and my motivations. It meant that I had to figure out what I wanted to do in life, and then I had to get excited about it. It meant I had to own my emotions, my actions, both past and present. And it meant that I had to learn, believe it or not, I had to learn how to be proud of what I had accomplished. I had to learn how to toot my own horn, which was actually a very difficult lesson for me as well. I realized that I had given my power away to others, to everyone around me, and I didn't have any for myself. So I took it back. Now, who else wants to take back their power? Who else just wants to figure out where their power went? Anyone? Thank you. It can be a daily struggle. This talk isn't going to be a lifelong fix for you, but I'm hoping what I can do tonight is I can give you the tools that help you figure out how to do this on your own. It can be a start for a whole new you. So, in my own life, I was never proactive about taking back my power. I gave it to everybody, like I said. And like everyone else in this room, I had challenges that I had to overcome. Unfortunately, my story is not unique. And I'm going to share a little bit of it with you guys tonight. I was in an emotionally abusive relationship. I was married for over 20 years to an extremely manipulative, controlling man. He controlled what I ate. He controlled what I wore. He controlled what I did, where I went, who my friends were, and I let him. I got married very early. I was married at 17. I had a baby at 18, and Justin was my whole life. So it was okay. I put up with anything that he did. 2.5 years later, I had another baby, little Jessica. It was okay. I didn't care what he told me to do. I would do whatever. I was protecting those kids. That was my life. That's what I did. There were times in my life I worked 3 jobs because he wasn't working. There were times we had bills up to our eyeballs because he would go out and get credit cards and charge them up. It was stupid stuff that we didn't need. I had to go to the grocery store, write a check for a little extra so I could buy the kids shoes. I did everything possible to please him, to make all of our lives very simple. I figured it was okay. I didn't have bruises, I didn't have broken bones. So it was okay, right? I mean, that wasn't abusive. I'm a submissive wife. Isn't that what I was taught to be? I'm letting him be head of the house, right? So, what I did discover though, after years of doing this, was that my power was not going to lay dormant. It was going to find little ways out. So one of the things that he tried to control very strictly was the way I looked, was my diet, was my exercise plan. So he would constantly say, "You're gonna eat that? Really? You sure you want a second helping?" I have a horrible sweet tooth, so I'm sorry, but Hostess cupcakes from the freezer are like the bomb, right? So I would hide those. I would do little things that my power would sneak out. Finally, I just got sick of it. And I looked at him one day at dinner and I said, "You know what? I'm a vegetarian. You gonna join me in that?" Oh no, he wasn't giving up steak. Ta-da! Suddenly, I had complete control over what I could eat. He had nothing to say about it. So see, my power wouldn't stay hidden. I found other little ways like that. I became a gym rat. Every morning, 5:30, I was there. That was my time. I could have been sitting on the chair doing nothing, not working out at all, but it didn't matter because from 5:30 to 6:30 in the morning, that was my time. I went back to school, took night classes while I was working full time. I got my degrees. He had nothing to say about that. He couldn't control who was in my class. He couldn't control if I had to go to study group. I found ways to show my kids that power cannot be hidden. That's what was important to me. Something happened, and I was able to crawl my way out of that marriage. He was arrested. Suddenly, he was an inmate in Orange. Ta-da! It's my ticket out. And I took it, and I ran. I thought I was free, right? Oh, thank God. Okay, now I can do whatever I want. What I didn't realize was that my struggle was just beginning. I had to rebuild who I was. I didn't know who I was anymore. I knew who he thought I should be. You guys seen the movie Runaway Bride, where she's all, what kind of eggs do you like? I don't know what kind of eggs I like. I like whatever kind of eggs, I had to cook. It's not like he cooked, but you know what I mean? It's kind of the same thing. I don't know what I wanted. I didn't know what kind of clothes I actually wanted to wear. I didn't know how I wanted my hair. So my struggle actually started then. I had to rebuild who I was. I had to, forget rebuilding, I had to figure out who I was. I have struggled for years to figure out the difference between and find the balance with power and arrogance, self-fulfillment, self-care. One of the biggest challenges I had was accepting that I had feelings and I had emotions. Because unless it had to do with my kids, for those 20 years, I was literally numb. I didn't think I had any feelings whatsoever. When I got out of that situation, I realized I was angry, I was resentful, I was just plain pissed. I had to deal with that. I had to figure out what I was going to do with that. And then, to top it all off, I was finally independent. That was amazing. I loved it, and I was terrified at all at the same time. What do I do with that? So I had to figure out where I was going to go from there. And luckily, I had friends like Corinne, and I had friends who kept reminding me to speak my truth. Everything else, as long as you're speaking your truth, everything else will fall into place. I learned the hard way how to empower my actions, my reactions, my emotions, and I did it based on my values, my beliefs, and my needs. But I had to figure out what those were. I had to kind of do some backtracking and say, well, what do I need? I own them now. They're mine, and they're mine alone. I'm willing to share them with you, but I don't expect you to copy them. I can't, my values may be completely different from yours. You need to figure out what you value, what you need, and what you believe in order to take your power back. I don't promise that it's going to be easy, but it is going to be one heck of a ride. So the first step is self-awareness. Self-awareness is the foundation that personal power is built on. You have to be self-aware. You have to be honest with yourself so you know where to build from there. For me, this step wasn't easy. I mean, I basically had to admit how I had been living, what I had been doing, and it wasn't pretty for me either. There was a lot of self-reflection in there, and there was a lot of shame. That was okay, because that emotion, when I finally accepted it, helped me build the self-awareness that I needed so I could take my power back. I knew I never wanted to feel that shame again, so I did things to make sure I didn't. The biggest thing for me in that shame, though, was that I had to learn to accept it. I had to own it. That was a very difficult thing, but once I did, it was kind of like, once you admit what you find and you own it, the next step is easy because that's the hardest part. So I don't want you guys to do this now, and I did give you guys kind of a cheat sheet so you don't have to all take notes, is even if you're not a list person, I want you to make a list. The first one we're going to talk about is your needs. What do you truly need? A roof over your head, X amount of dollars in the bank, a house. In my case, I needed a faithful partner because I didn't know what that felt like. So you need certain things. What are they? Because once you acknowledge what you need, you're going to attract those things into your life. The next one is beliefs. Beliefs shape what you can accomplish. Do you believe in God? Do you believe in equality for all? Do you believe in practicing nonviolence? What are your core beliefs? Write them down. And finally, number 3 is your values. What are your standards of behavior? Do you value the golden rule? Do you value love? Do you value professionalism in the workplace? Mine, I valued integrity. I valued honesty. Those were 2 of the things that I put under value. It's important that you be honest about it. Some people, they value or they need so much money to pay their house payment. That's a legitimate need. Just because it's material doesn't make it a not valuable need. That didn't, whatever. You guys know what I'm saying.
Wendy, can I give an example?
Yes, please.
I was struggling to support myself and to make some money when I was before I went into mortgage underwriting after I left the ministry. So I was sitting at this desk that I had as a secretary in a mortgage company, and it just popped in my mind exactly what she said. What do I need to make before taxes or after taxes to meet my obligation? You know, I didn't ask for $1 million, I maybe should have. But I wrote down on a piece of paper, $2,400 per month. $2,400 per month. I didn't think of the number, I just wrote it down. 6 months later, after taxes, with my new underwriting job as a junior underwriter, and this was many, many years ago, it was $2,400 for the month when I put the 2 paychecks together. So again, what she said comes to mind. Write it down, make it an intention, make it manifest. Because, you know, I saw that and I thought, yeah, wow, yeah, God, that would be great. Now I look back and think I should have said $1 million, maybe that would have happened. But no, I didn't ask, you know, I wanted just enough to make ends meet. So I didn't have to worry and stress and take another job. So write down. When you write it down, it's like this is the law.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So that's part of the reason I gave you guys the cheat sheet, as I call it, is so that you can do that. You can write down these things. You can. They take time to evolve. I'm one of those that I overanalyze. So I would write, let's say I'm going to start, okay, today I'm going to do my needs. So I wrote everything down. Okay, I need to sit on this for a second because I need to make sure I haven't forgotten something. So a second would turn into a week, which would turn into 10 days, which then I'd be like, okay, it's settled there. I'm ready to take the next step. I don't expect you guys to do this all in one day, one afternoon, whatever. Take the time. Make it a living document to where it can change constantly as well. Because what I valued in 1997 is completely different from what I value now. What I needed was also very different. So keep that in mind. Now, after you write these down and after you take your time doing it, I want you to go back to that list. So you've got a list, let's say you've got a list of like 5 things on it. I want you to go back down to that list and I want you to dig deeper into each and every one of those things that you wrote on that list. So here's an example. If you wrote that you need a faithful partner, which I'm just going to use my examples because that's what I know. I needed a faithful partner. The time I wrote that, I didn't even have a partner. So I needed to take a step back, and I said, I need a partner. Wait a minute, I am in no shape to have a relationship right now. I need to figure out how to have a relationship. Okay, wait, now that I've done that, I need to, before I can love anybody else, I need to love myself. I need to learn how to love myself. So you guys really need to dig deep, be honest, and think of it as steps that you need to take in order to get to where you want to be. And again, by doing this, you're putting it out there, you're writing it down, but you're also putting those feelings and those intentions out there. That is going to bring to you what you need, what you value, and what you believe. You will be surprised when you pay attention in your life how these things just pop in.
But Wendy, you said the very first thing, you have to have a foundation and be honest with yourself.
Honesty is the key.
Because if she would have just put down, I want a man, I want a partner, and then I put down, I want somebody honest, then I want somebody that loves me, well then her focus would be all on that, but Wendy hasn't changed. She has drawn these negative things to her. Why? So she backed up and said, wait a minute. And I can't, how would you even know you were fooled before?
Right, exactly. So you need to just think about, and you don't have to do this by yourself. I've said it before and I will say it again and again and again because it was the hardest lesson for me to learn. Ask for help.
Yes.
Find a counselor like Corinne. Talk to a life coach like me. Talk to your best friend. Whatever the case is, find somebody that you can talk to because somebody else is going to have a different perspective. They might say, Corinne, did you think about the fact that maybe you need this instead? They're a true friend, they will say that.
Maybe you need to be independent first
Yes.
before you find someone to lean on.
Wait, I think that
Yeah.
sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Yes. Do the same thing with your beliefs and with your values, not just your needs. So the beliefs, an example would be, okay, let's say you believe in God. Do you believe in male or female? Do you believe in the universe or spirit? Do you believe in a God? What about values? So I value professionalism in the workforce, in the workplace. So does that mean that I just expect proper attire? Or does that mean I expect proper language? No F-bombs dropped in the middle of a meeting, right? I mean, so really think about some of the things that you put. Don't just keep them generic like professionalism. What does that mean to you?
Be specific.
Right. And honest. Because through this honesty, you are going to, and I'm sorry, you are just right there, so I apologize. Erin, I don't want you to think that I'm only talking to you.
Good. I would like to think.
Okay, then I take it back. I just realized that poor Erin was. Okay. So you need to be honest because through this process, through the self-awareness process, you are going to become, your goal is to become your own best friend. You need to know yourself inside and out, the ugly, the beautiful. Because if you're honest with it, you're going to see it all. And that's the only way to get your power back, is to know what your core is. I'm looking at my notes. I'm like, well, I kind of said this, but I'm going to say it again. This is a living document. So I gave the example of like 10 years, 20 years, it changed. It could change next week. You guys need to be willing to accept that. Because as you get more positive in your life, and as you start manifesting these things, suddenly something wonderful is going to happen. And then
There's a fire, that's what that means. There's fire trucks going to be leaving.
okay, so something is going to be a flame in your life. And then it could completely put what you thought your path was on its ear. And that's okay. That's the fun part.
It can be something very devastating.
It can.
13 years ago, I was very happy, very, very content, very happy doing my thing, starting my spiritual path. Well, not starting the path, but the counseling. And I found out I had multiple myeloma. Now, exactly what she's talking about. That can throw a great big, it's cancer, it's terminal, it's all those things. But I didn't allow that to happen because my foundation, I knew who I was by now. At my age, you better know who you are. I'm telling you, I'm older than most of you and twice as old as most of you. But I had to then say, okay, all of these little things over here really don't matter much if I don't really pay attention to this one. And you know what? That's part of our journey. It's part of the wonderment of spirit to, wow, can I handle this? Sure you can. That's what spirit says. Sure you can. So I didn't mean to interrupt, but I just wanted to say that it can hit in a great way, or it can just like your roof falling in.
It absolutely can. And I thank you, Corinne, for sharing that, because I didn't set this up very good in the beginning, very well. But if you guys have anything I'm saying spark something and you want to share, this is an open forum. So it's not like second grade where you can't interrupt the teacher. I'm not the teacher, I'm not the master. Please, if you guys have something to say, you have something to share, please speak up.
I think during this process that you're going to run into a lot of fear.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And that's one thing that you are going to have, that in itself is a hole that you need to jump in and spend some time learning around it.
Oh, absolutely.
Because fear is a choice, actually.
It is. Just like
And we think, I don't feel guilty. I learned that guilt is an assumed emotion.
Right.
So I ask for forgiveness, I repent, and I forgive myself. And there is no way that I'm going to feel guilty, because guilty is negative,
Right.
and nothing good can come from it. And that same thing is the same way with fear. That's a thing that you can choose or not to choose. It's one of the things, that was how we were controlled as children a lot of times, and that's where that program comes from, is fear.
It's how we're controlled by a country too, or by a people,
Well, yeah, it's just a way to control you, is fear.
It's an
But-
illusion.
But fear is, as you said, it's an illusion. If you choose not to think fearful thoughts,
Right. Then.
it doesn't exist.
And sometimes the fear is just the fact that it's something different. I was comfortable in my powerlessness. It was something that I was used to, and I was afraid to take it back, because that meant that I had to admit that I wasn't happy.
And you had to make choices all of a sudden.
Yep. Yes, sir.
I know one thing for me, if you're thinking a negative thought or you feel powerless, a lot of people say, hey, don't think that anymore, or jump to a positive thought. But there's such an emotional range. I mean, the next step would probably be to get angry about what's going on in your life to get some power back. So I noticed getting angry, even though it's an ugly thing, especially if you're around other people, it's kind of hard. But that was one of the first steps for me, getting out of powerlessness, especially in the workplace.
Right.
So
I know, I agree with you. But being angry, you said it's an ugly thing. Actually, for me, it was healing. Because I had to admit that I was angry. I had to own the fact that I was, like I said, I was really ticked.
Well, it's one of the steps of grieving.
Yes.
And when we're ticked, we're really grieving something, if you think about it. Someone else's actions towards us, or our own inability to speak up and use our throat chakra. So that anger can be towards us, or it can be reflected out. But yeah, it's part of the process.
Absolutely. So it's frustration,
Yes.
which just frustrated me.
Sadness.
Yes. Like you said, it's when you're going through the phase where, let's say something ended, my marriage ended, that was a happy thing, right? But I still went through the stages of grief. I still felt like a failure. I still felt, and he was a toxic sociopath. I felt like I did something wrong. I failed. We all, now I know that's not the case, but part of the process is that you do have to go through the grieving steps.
And journaling is a wonderful way to deal with things, is to journal.
Oh, I talk about that in here. That saved me.
And especially if you go, sometimes I go back and look at mine. Maybe I'll just read a page and I just open it up and I'm just like, wow, really? You know, 2 or 3 years ago or 6 months ago. Now I'm kind of specific when I refer to people because I'll say, well, there was Larry, and I'm like, ooh, Larry. So now I kind of put Larry the neighbor, you know.
Right.
But journaling, I think, is a hard. It comes and goes. It's for me. I do it and then I don't. Then I do it and then I don't.
You just made me realize why I buy so many journal books.
Because they're cool, right? They look cool.
But-
It's
wait,
not.
wait, go ahead.
Yes.
I did used to write a lot.
Yes.
And then I had someone violate that
Right.
after, because it brought a world of trouble.
Sure.
You know, because the person who was reading it, it was about them, you know,
Yes.
which was my partner, and
Right.
all these feelings, and I was in a relationship like that, and they're like, oh, you know, and I felt even more trapped. So then at that point, I just stopped writing.
Exactly.
altogether.
That's exactly what I did too.
But
And
now
out
you
of
have the
fear,
journals. You have
I
this.
keep buying it because inside
Right.
I
You
want
want
to.
You
Yeah,
must
but they're
want to.
empty. They're still empty.
You
on
must
my
do it.
shelves.
You must put one by your bed. You must do it now because you're in a safe environment.
Yes.
And there's no reason to have that fear or violation any longer in your life. That was then and this is now.
And I was questioning myself. I go, why do I keep buying all
Because
these
that's what your
journals
spirit
that
wants
write
you
in
to write.
there?
That your spirit wants you to.
Right?
Your
And then
spirit
people
is
tell
in
me,
body,
you
right.
should write a book about your life.
Of course,
Right.
start writing
You
now.
know, and I keep saying, yeah, I'm gonna, but I just can't even get to start writing it.
Get the
Well,
journal.
That fear.
Just start writing. Just sit it by your bed and just write what you did today. You know, I start really simple if I haven't been doing it. You know, what would I do different today? What was the 5 good things that happened to me? What 5 funny things happened to me? What did I eat? You know, it doesn't matter what. Just start.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. I've only gotten as far as buying maybe 7 journal books.
Well, now you need a
Well,
pen.
one for every day.
Yes.
See,
That's right.
there you go, one for every day.
No, thank you for that, because I talk about that later. Journaling was essential for my healing process. But now, we're going to talk about your strengths. So after you feel comfortable with everything that's your core, your needs, your beliefs, your values, after you feel comfortable with what you've put out there for that, then you're going to talk about your strengths. You're going to talk about what you're good at. Are you a good listener? Are you a skilled writer? Are you a good photographer? Can you throw one heck of a Super Bowl party? Because if you can, I need your number before you go. All right, so write down what you're good at. I've had a lot of trouble with this list. I mean, you think, like, oh, this would be easy, right? No, my mom always said, don't be stuck up, Wendy. Don't say, just don't do that. So I felt like I was bragging. Right here, right now, I am giving you permission. I'm telling you to brag about yourself.
Yeah.
No one is going to talk you up the way that you can talk you up. You know yourself, especially after you've done this exercise, inside and out. Every single positive thing on there. I have great hair. Thanks to my hairdresser. So, is that a strength? You know what? I'll take it because it's positive about me. Write it down. Brag about yourself. Get comfortable with talking positive about you. You know why? Because that feeds your power. That just made you way more powerful than you were 5 minutes ago. Talk yourself up. Now what you're going to do after you write your list of strengths, journaling could be one of them. Review your list. Figure out ways in your life that you can cultivate and nurture your strengths. You're going to have to dig deep, and you're going to have to be creative. Do you need a better job? Are you a good writer? Find a job that accents that skill. You're a good photographer? Take some pictures, send them randomly into AAA Arizona or whatever and see if they'll buy them. Find ways to use your skills. The more you use your skills and your strengths, the more powerful you will become, the more in control, because you're going to start making decisions based on what you know you're good at. That is going to give you more and more power. I realized when I was struggling with this, because Corinne would be like, okay, so what good can you what are you good at? I make a mean macaroni and cheese.
Who doesn't like mac and cheese? That's awesome.
Right? I mean, seriously, I was grasping at straws, and I realized that the reason I was having such a really hard time with this was I wasn't being honest with myself. I was scared to death to take back my power.
You were scared to submit an article to a magazine.
Yes. I made Corinne read that article. She probably still has it memorized.
I have it saved, but she's an excellent writer, and she wasn't using it. She kept reworking it and reworking it and reworking it. And I said, send it. And they published it, of course. So that helps her build that.
Yes, but I was scared. I was really comfortable. So I got out. I built myself a new life, and I was just getting used to that. And now she wanted me to take another step. Are you kidding me? I'm just here. I'm fine. I'm happy. Okay, wait, why am I writing this article then? What am I going to do with it? Is it just going to sit there on my computer? You have to push yourself. You have to figure out, though. I had to figure out, thank God, Corinne's a patient person, that I was scared. I was very comfortable where I was. It felt secure. It was all a lie. It's not where I was supposed to be. I was still 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You can't do that. To take back your power, you have to commit to doing it all. You are worth it. Right? That's what I had trouble with. I'm worthy. I deserve to be happy. No, I don't. I made so many mistakes. I don't. No, I am happy. I am happy. But I want happy over there. And I had to admit that I wanted happy over there. And then I had to take the scary steps to get there. So I asked for help. And I met some amazing people. I had some people come in my life and say certain things and give me certain opportunities that if I had stayed where I was, I never would have gone down that path. And I never would have had some of the experiences that I did. And Corinne's a big part. We have to embrace what we find though. So for me, one of my values, like I said, was honesty and integrity. That's what I valued. That's what I was going to make some decisions off of. I started getting sick. I had stomach issues. My hair was falling out in gobs. I couldn't figure out what was going on. Well, come to find out, let me back up. I was working a bajillion hours. I was going to school. I had a life. I had the kids. They were teenagers. I was making changes. But when I looked at it, and I couldn't figure out how come I was sick. How come my hair was falling out? All of a sudden, I'm going to 15 different doctors trying to figure out what's wrong. You know what was wrong? Is that I wasn't being honest with myself. I was unhappy at work. I hated my job. But I needed that job. I have a good job. I make good money. I can't leave my job. By not being honest with myself, which was one of my values, I made myself sick. Do not make the same mistake I did. Be honest with yourself. Take your strengths and figure out what you can do to make your life better. It's the strength and the skills that you have within you. You just have to unleash them. So, the final step in self-awareness is to list your challenges. I did this one first. Because quite honestly, it was much easier to talk about the negative, what I didn't want, than what I did want. So list your challenges. Do you interrupt people when they talk? Do you only half listen? Do you not like your appearance? Whatever your areas of improvement are, write them down. Now I can guarantee you that everyone in this room shares at least one challenge. We have that negative Nelly in our head. Let me tell you, that woman does not like me. Okay? She is always telling me that I didn't do it right, or, oh my God, have you seen yourself in those jeans? I mean, seriously, are you going to wear those in public? Anything like that. She always calls me stupid. She calls me dumb. She tells me I can't do it. We all have that voice in our head that is negative. I want you to list it as the challenge. Again, the second step is to go further. Look at your challenges and your strengths together. What strength do you have that can help you overcome that challenge? How can you learn from your challenge? And is it truly a challenge, or is that negative voice in your head just telling you that it is? Dig deep. For example, one of my challenges was, and one of the things I wanted to work on was how to communicate when I was angry. So I would either, especially now that I was angry, so I would either just erupt, and it was like Mount Vesuvius. I mean, it was a mess. And you couldn't understand what I was saying, and I would burst into tears. I'd get all blotchy, and they'd just be looking at me like, I have no idea what the words that are coming out of your mouth. I don't get it. Or I would shut down completely. You could always tell I was livid when I just sat there and stared, because inside I was seething. But either way, I wasn't communicating. I wasn't accepting my emotions. I knew I was angry, but I didn't figure out why I was angry. So for me, one of my challenges was communicating effectively when I was angry. Depending on the situation, I handled it differently with each of them. But one of the hardest lessons I learned with dealing with that was I had to ask for time. I had to say, you know what, I'm sorry, I can't talk to you right now. Because I had to figure out why I was angry. I had to figure out, and I had to be able to articulate why the behavior that you just did set me off. That way then we could have a constructive conversation and go from there, because otherwise nothing was happening. The other thing I had to learn when communicating when angry was just not to engage. Was it really worth being angry? Because here's why. Perfect example is my toxic ex. He's a psycho. He would rewrite history. I can tell you all about this day. He would come, left field. Where the heck did he pull this? I have no idea where he got this information. He would rewrite history. And he was always wrong. So he would tell me, no, that's not how it happened. This is what it did, whatever. I finally came to the conclusion, even though I wanted to fight with him, that it was stupid to fight with him. Because you cannot rationalize with an irrational person. You are not going to be able to get it in their head when they are just as irrational. So maybe if it had been somebody different and not him, I could have said, you know what, neither of us are making any sense right now. Let's walk away from this. We're not done, but we're going to regroup in a few minutes once we figure it out. With him, it was fine. So, but you have to realize that there are going to be people in your life that are completely irrational. You cannot rationally talk to them because they don't get it. You guys are speaking a different language. Everybody's nodding, so I'm assuming everybody knows somebody like that. Yes, sir.
One thing that I realized that when you're trying to be logical with someone, you have to realize whether they're in logic mode or feeling mode.
Right.
How do you feel or how do you think?
Right.
A lot of people are, that's where the conflict comes in, one person feeling, no one's thinking.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
sometimes you have to turn around and say, how do I feel instead of what am I thinking?
Exactly. That's a great, great insight. Thank you. Okay, so now we've done all these exercises and we know what our core looks like, right? So that has any of you ever gone to like an exercise class and they're like, we're going to work on your core, and then you walk out and your stomach is killing you? Yeah, it's kind of the same thing. So you guys exercised your core now. You know what your foundation is. So now you have to ask the tough questions. What do you want to change in your life? Do you want a different job? Do you want to just get promoted? Do you want to save more money? Do you want to buy a house? Do you want a dog? I mean, what do you want? What do you want to change in your life? Second question, where do you feel overwhelmed? Why do you feel overwhelmed? Is it because you don't feel like you have control of that situation? So does that mean then you don't feel like you have the power in that situation? So you need to ask these questions so you can figure out where you can take your personal power back. Do you have to completely go off into left field, change your job, do something else? Or can you work within the parameters of your job because you realize you just haven't spoken up? You guys are going to come up when you're working this, a ton of excuses. I can't do that. I can't do this. I was the queen of excuses. I had a crown. I'm telling you, I was the queen of excuses. I had to do it for the kids. I had to do this because I needed my job. I was the only income, so I had to work 3 jobs, right? I mean, whatever. The point of the excuses are so you can avoid it, so you can stay scared. I am here to tell you right here, right now, there is no reason to be scared anymore. You have the support system that you need to take that next step. You just have to ask for it. Just put it out there.
You have to get out of the boat before the water gets solid, I like to tell people.
Exactly.
You know, speaking of Peter getting out of the boat when Jesus was walking on the water, and he said, oh, I want to walk on the water too. So Peter said, Jesus said, step out. So he stepped out, and guess what? He was walking on the water. And then he looked down, and he saw the waves, he saw the turmoil, and he fell. He sunk. So that's what Wendy's talking about. You have to take that initial step before the universe is going to say, wow, that person's serious. Okay, let's go. I'm right there with you.
Mm-hmm. You have to take your power back. You have to set that intention. You have to figure out, first of all, and also, where you gave it. Who has it? Why don't you have it? Or do you? And you just don't realize it. One of the most important steps in taking back that power is changing your inner dialogue. So again, like I said, mine continually chimes in. She has an opinion about everything. And sometimes she sounds just like my mother. She tells me constantly how I failed. Or she tries to convince me, you can't do that. You really can't. Are you sure you want to do it? No. I'm telling you right now, she's wrong. I want you to shut her down for all of you. Shut her down. Just tell her she's wrong. You all, and I want you to say this to yourself, not necessarily these words, you're going to write your own, but I want you to realize that you are an amazing, wonderful, powerful, and beautiful person. You are a unique and gifted child of this world, and every negative thing that voice tells you is a lie. She is wrong. You are perfect. You are exactly where you need to be. Excellence, not perfection. She's crazy. Just ignore her. She's that crazy aunt that you have. Yeah, just ignore her. Get rid of her. I say that. Does anybody think this is going to be easy?
No, not at all.
So, like Spencer was saying, everybody always says, okay, well then just think positive. She says something negative, think positive. So, I would get creative. There were some times where this negative voice would come in my head and I'd be like, okay, cancel, just cancel. And then I would have to think about something else. Would automatically think about something that I was grateful for. I would argue with her. Thank you very much for your opinion. However, I disagree with you. Seriously? They must have thought I was like, civil because I was having all this internal I would just automatically try and think of something else. Yes.
One thing that I've learned through the years is if somebody that a stranger can say something negative to you, if you don't value their opinion, how can those words mean anything negative? Or, it's somebody in your class or something, makes a comment, they mean nothing to you. It can it's just a stranger making a comment.
Right.
If you don't put any worth to it, it doesn't mean anything to you.
Exactly. Let it go. Let it go. Because I'm telling you right now, again, that voice is wrong. Say it over and over. The voice is wrong. And positive thinking, there's a lot of things out there now. It's really in the zeitgeist, the whole positive thinking movement. I mean, even Special K has got have you guys seen it? It's the new campaign to shush the fat talk. And they want women to rebuild their body image, to shut up that voice in your head. So you can find all sorts of other tools out there that you can use to help shush the voice. I need reminders constantly. I do. And like I said, I still argue with her. And it gets to the point to where you hear her and you're like, I know she's full of crap. But you have to get there. Because I believed every single word that she said. And then I was taking this journey, and I would think, okay, I did good. I'm right here now. Yeah, but did you get there the right way? Are you sure you did this? I mean, come on, seriously, you can't even give me a minute? Ignore her, she's wrong. So one of the things that I did that really, really saved me, as I said before, was I journaled. And I did the same thing. I would go to Barnes & Noble. I had so many pens and so many cool books, and they just sat there. I have a box full. But then when I decided to use them, it all clicked and it all came into the view. I would write every night. I kept one by my bed, and I did free journaling, free thinking journal. So whatever was in my head, it could be about anything. I didn't censor it. I didn't use correct grammar. Half the time I couldn't even read it again if I wanted to. But I wrote in it. And one of the things that I did was I made a point to always have something positive that happened in the day. And there were days when the only positive was that I got my ass out of bed. That was the only positive. Another day it was, and I got dressed today. But I found something. The other thing that I would do is I would write a positive affirmation about me. That's the way I ended the journal. So I would write whatever, a lot of it sometimes was just gibberish, and at the end I would say, I am a smart, intelligent, beautiful person. Every single night. I had to reprogram my voice, and she was tough. But I think the fact that I became aware that I had this Sybil living in my head was the first step. I knew she was there and I knew she was wrong. But I had to, because before it's just like you don't even notice it, it's just kind of happening. So now that I knew she was there, I had to take steps to get rid of her and to reprogram her. You made a list of your strengths, revisit that. Make her, I keep saying her, and I apologize to the men in the room. Make her read that.
It's a woman in my head, don't worry.
funny.
That was good, Spencer.
It's just the truth, right, Spencer?
It's my mother.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's one of the first relationships that we have. I'm telling you, mine sounds like, yeah. Mhm. So the other thing you can do after you journal and continually write down what you like about yourself, even if it's that you got a cool pedicure, I don't know what it is. Write something cool down. The other thing you can do is you can surround yourself with like-minded people. The fact that we have so many new people in this room tonight is a perfect example of that. Find people that are like-minded, that aren't going to judge you, that are going to accept you for who you are because you are a unique and beautiful, gifted child of this world. I had to look really close at the people that I had around me, because I realized when I did this exercise that I had surrounded myself with people that made me feel, again, comfortable. They put me down the same way he did. I realized a lot of my friends were like that. You know the friend that you have that's like, well, you want me to be honest, right? Yes, I had a lot of those. So I started coming to this group because Corinne encouraged me. I started distancing myself from the people who felt that they needed to tell me how to run my life. Not the positive kind, the kind that were always like, really? So I started distancing myself from them. And what I found shocked me. New people came into my life instead. So this person would leave, and this person would come in, and this person would be exactly what I needed. Now, I admit a lot of this is hindsight. So you're going to meet this person, you're going to be like, what? But it is exactly what you need because you put it out there. For example, my employer at the time was just as toxic as my ex-husband. This group was just crazy. I swear they only hired broken people, and I was very broken when I was hired there. And they took advantage of that. So when I started getting healthy and I started to look at the people that I had surrounded myself with, I realized that I also stuck myself in that position at work. So as my confidence grew, because I started taking back my power, I started standing up for myself at work. No, I'm not going to work a 60-hour work week this week and not get paid for it. Sorry, not going to happen. I was very professional about it because that was one of my values. But I was also very clear about it. I was assertive. I no longer swallowed my voice. That was huge for me. To be able to say what I thought in a constructive way was huge because for so long, I didn't have a voice. Now I had to learn how to deal with it. So when you're looking at, you need to be prepared though, because that was tough for me. I was struggling financially, and this was the only job I had. So now I'm going to rock the boat. Really? What if they fire me? My question to you is, what if? Guess what? Maybe that's exactly what you need. Maybe the next door that you go through, it's like, let's make a deal. Let's try number 3 now. Maybe that one's amazing. But you won't know until you try. So take back your power and try.
See, the woman you became was not the woman they wanted in that position.
No. And the
So
position
you should
no
say,
longer
thank
worked.
you very much.
Yes. The position no longer worked for either of us. The other negative influences that I found for me, I'm sure a therapist would have a blast with this, but was my family. So I, at the time, okay, my ex-husband's out the door, I get rid of him, so I'm like, okay, I'm going to try and rebuild the relationships that I have with my siblings. So my middle sister and I are trying to rebuild this relationship, and when I started looking at it, I realized she's not healthy for me either. She's still in competition with me. She would say mean, hurtful things to me, so she would feel better than I did. Some characters in her book She's a writer. Bear a striking resemblance to me. And they say mean and hurtful things. I cut her out of my life. I said, until we can have a better, healthier relationship, I don't want anything to do with you. And I stand by it. She comes out, she lives in LA. She comes out to visit once a year. I didn't see her again this year. We had the conversation, we start the dialogue. She still feels unhealthy? No. It's not happening. The most painful one for me was my daughter. Jessica and I were very close. And for a while, it was just her and me at the house. My son is older and he'd moved out. And Jessica was in college, so she's 21. And she and I did everything together. She used to say we were like the Gilmore Girls, which I don't really like because that meant that I was the flaky mother, but okay. So I worked with Jessica for a long time because I thought she had been programmed by her dad, and she was. She was in therapy. She was on medication. She was trying to heal herself because she had been in that relationship too. I thought I was protecting the kids, when in actuality I was not. So Jessica gets healthy. She moves out. She gets engaged. She's going to be married. She's 21 years old. She still calls me midnight, 3 o'clock in the morning, whatever the case is. Oh my God, Mom, Eric and I are fighting. I need to talk to you. Okay, fine, come on over. Oh my God, Mom, can I borrow $25? Keep in mind, I'm broke. I am barely buying food. Yeah, sure, I'll give you $25. I sold some books to get her the $25. Mom, my feet are really ugly. Can you pay for my pedicure? I have to go to work and these shoes are open-toed, Mom. I did it. The worst part was the 3 o'clock in the morning because I had to be at work at the crack of dawn. So I decided that I needed to set healthy boundaries with my daughter. I'm sorry, Jessica, you can't come over right now. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. I have to be at work by 7. I'm sorry. Then I didn't answer her calls if they were after a certain time at night. I stopped giving her money. I'm sorry, I just don't have it. So she showed up at my house one night, screaming. She was extremely upset because my life no longer revolved around her, because I had set healthy boundaries. I told her we are going to have a healthy adult relationship now. I do not need to take constant care of you, and I do not need to financially support you. You are living on your own. She said if that was the attitude that I wanted to take, she would erase me and I'm no longer her mother. I said, okay. The hardest thing I've ever done in my life was to watch her walk out that door. But it was also the healthiest. Mm-hmm. I told her I loved her. I will always love her. But she needs to get healthy, and I clearly am not the one to help her do that. You need to be prepared. You need to look close. If I had not had the courage to look at my inner circle, because you think family's safe, right? No. No. It has been 3 years? It has been 3 years now. She moved up to Portland because her dad has agreed to financially support her and her husband. She did not come to my wedding, and I have not talked to her in years. But you know what? I love her, and someday she's going to come around. She's going to realize that she needs the boundaries, just like I need the boundaries.
And she's healed also. And she heals herself.
So part of what got me through that time was the catchphrase attitude of gratitude. I thought after that particular incident, what the hell do I have to be grateful for? I just watched my baby walk out the door. I found every little thing I could to be thankful. A hummingbird, I'm standing outside. This hummingbird comes, I'm not, right here. I focused on that damn bird all day long. I'm Googling, what does a hummingbird mean? What is it, focus on that kind of stuff. Another day it was, I came home and my dogs were so happy to see me, and I'm like, well, at least somebody still loves me. And I focused on that. Find whatever you can, a beautiful flower, something. It's out there. Attitude of gratitude. So, I know you said you were here when Holly spoke, right? One of the big things that she said that helped me with this kind of realizing this attitude of gratitude was thinking down the other side of the coil. So you have this pattern that you think. You wake up, I'll use the same example she did. You wake up, you're like, oh God, I'm kind of so, what am I going to wear? Oh, I don't like the way I look in this outfit. Oh my God, I'm so fat, I need to go to the gym. Oh, you know the coil that I'm talking about, right? So instead, change it. So you're here, you're in bed. Oh, I've got to get up. Wow, look, the sun's out this morning. That's a big deal because lately we've been waking up and it's still dark, right? Oh, good, it's nice and warm. The bed's all cozy. This is a positive. Oh, isn't that sweet? My dog just hogged that entire side of the bed. That's positive. Whatever the positives are, think the positive instead of the negative. Think down the other side of the coil. To do that, the answer on how to do that is love. Love everything around you. Find love in everything. And most important, love yourself. Because guess what? You are worthy. You are worthy. So I know I've talked for a long time, but I'm going to touch briefly on some of the tools that you already have in your arsenal that can help you stay on track. So you've done all this work. Are you going to forget about it? Maybe. Let's hope not, because you're on a new journey, right? You're on a new path. So I've got some tools, and I'm going to share some of the tools that I use that helped me and still continue to help me stay on track. So visualization. I read the other day that 80% of the population, and we all know that 99% of statistics are made up, so I don't know if that statistic is real or not. But 80% of the population are visual. They process the material and life around them visually. I know I do, because I have some pretty strong tells. I say, oh, I see. Oh, let me look. Oh, show me this. The other two ways are auditory and through your emotions. So I think there was a point in time when I was very emotional because I felt like I didn't have emotions for a long time, and then all of a sudden I had emotions, and so I think my entire life was like, oh my God, what do I do with these now? But for the most part, in order to keep me on track, I used visualization. Here's one that I used, and I want you guys to practice it. So everybody close your eyes. So vision yourself at your very best. Either how you look or just an accomplished feeling. See that white light surrounding you. Because guess what? You are worthy. You are loved. So see yourself as your true self. See yourself using your unique gifts that bring you joy. Now hang on to that visualization. Hang on to that picture in your head. Okay, everybody open your eyes. I did that before I went to bed. I did that when I woke up every single morning. There are days that felt really cheesy. I'll be honest. But I did it anyway, and it helped me. It helped me a lot. The other thing I would do, I already kind of touched on, is I would journal every single night. It was part of my nightly routine. So I would journal, like I said, I would write anything that I could. For me, a lot of it was I needed to feel financially secure. I was in this job that wasn't paying enough. I had a humongous house payment. I was up to my eyeballs in debt. So I added to that affirmation that I told you earlier, I am a strong, graceful, beautiful, financially savvy woman. I needed that. In order to feel independent and in order to feel like I had regained some of my power, I needed to throw financials in there. I'm not saying you do, but think about it. Just because you hear some of this when people talk about this, they're like, well, don't be material. I'm standing here right now telling you I needed to be. That's what I needed to do to feel like I was powerful again. So just keep that in mind. Don't listen to what everybody else says out there. Listen to what your heart's telling you. Yes, sir.
Material may be when you ask for that excess, Corinne asked for 2,400 for what you
Right.
needed, not for that $1 million maker materialist.
Exactly. So create a mantra that speaks for your needs, your beliefs, your values, that accents your strengths and helps you overcome your challenges. Use everything that you put together to come up with a mantra. Some people write them down. Some people write it on the bathroom mirror in lipstick. Do whatever you need to do so you remember it. I have this friend of mine. Use whatever you can. And she has this, is what I told her, because she was like, how do I visualize? I'm like, I don't know. Use whatever you can. Be creative. So I go, she's my hairdresser. So I go into her salon and she's got on this wall, she's, you know those clingy sticker things that you can get and say that says, be your own kind of beautiful. That was perfect, because that means something different to me. It means something different to you. It definitely means something to her because it's an advertisement for her salon. But that's the kind of stuff. They have all those cool things now that you can use in your house. I mean, be creative in the way that you create your own visualization stuff. You can do the visualization boards. You can do some of the stuff that I'm going to tell you to do. But if something speaks to you, you're walking through, okay, Target's a bad example because of the credit cards, but you're walking through Target and you're like, I need that. But you don't know why you need to buy that right now. Maybe that's spirit telling you that's going to be a key in your visualization. So think about it. Listen when the spirit talks to you. So what had happened during this time was I finally gave up my bigger house. I had a house that was, I don't know, almost 3,000 square feet. It was just me. So I lost it. Couldn't afford the payments. So I moved into this little tiny 1,200 square foot house. It was 1,200 square foot, maybe. I had 3,000 square feet of crap that I had to fit into this little house. So I had to do a lot of purging during this time. But I loved this house. I called it the shack. It's my love shack because I loved me in it. And it was mine. I had stuff all over that house that helped me stay on track. About this time, a magazine article came out about Grace Kelly. It was in Life or Vanity Fair or something like that. And to me, Grace Kelly and Audrey Hepburn were always like the epitome of class, right? You see them and they're just like, they're beautiful. So I bought this magazine and I'm reading through it and, okay, guaranteed movie stars have their private life or whatever, but I'm ignoring that. I'm just looking at the fun pictures. And Grace Kelly was always beautiful, was always sexy, was always classy. And some of these candid pictures that they had in there, she just looked like she was having fun. That's what I wanted. I wanted to have fun in life. I just wanted to enjoy it. I wanted to know what it meant to live. So I cut those pictures out. I had them on random bulletin boards throughout the house. I had one on the refrigerator. I had one on the bathroom mirror. Now, I also decided during this time that I was going to try and be positive with my actions. So I took the umpteen boxes of family pictures that we had and I decided that I would be nice and split them up between my ex-husband and myself. But don't get too excited, he got all the crappy pictures and I got all the good ones. But I still did it, right? I was being nice in the way that I was doing this. So in this process, I found this picture of my son and I. He's about a year old, so that would have made me about 18 or 19 years old. We're at this park. And you know those dome climby things that you climb, and you kind of hang upside down from them? Well, my little toddler son is standing on the ground looking up at me is I'm hanging upside down. So here's the mom hanging upside down. She's playing. She's the one that's hanging upside down, making faces at her little baby. Justin is giggling, and the picture is just adorable. I had forgotten about it until I saw this picture, and I'm like, I remember that day. That was so much fun. I put that picture on my fridge because that's the kind of feeling that I wanted to feel all the time. I wanted to feel that happy. I wanted to feel that blessed. I wanted to feel that loved. So I put it right where I could see it. So as I put more positive out there, more positive came in my life. So I was able to take more pictures of new things that were happening. Those were all over my fridge. I was able to experience more. My journals all of a sudden were no longer a struggle. I was able to write not just about the fact that my dog is cute, but that good stuff happened that day. I was able, it was amazing. And then a miracle happened. I met the love of my life. I never thought it was happening, and he'll attest. I was not getting remarried. It was not going to happen. I was independent. I was on my own. I could do this. Bam! There he is. I kept sitting there going, how did I get so lucky? Why do I have this second chance? Because I made it happen, that's why. I put it out there. I manifested this life, and I'm not giving up that power. I'm going to stand up here and I'm going to brag about it. It's amazing. It's better than I ever thought it would be in my life right now. And I made it happen. I never thought those words would come. You could have talked to me before. That never would have. Ask Corinne. That never would have happened before.
Well, he had to really work to get your attention, I think.
The other thing that I want you guys to keep in mind, one of my visualizations was I would cut phrases out of magazines. I cut out that selfish is not a dirty word. I was the type of mother that I always came last. With the exception of my gym trips from 5:30 to 6:30 in the morning, because that was my time, the kids always came first. So to me, anything that I did for me was selfish. I was at a point in my life now where I could be all about me. There were no other kids in the house. It was just me. And I was young enough to enjoy it. I am young enough to enjoy it. So I needed that reminder that it was okay for self-care. It was okay to put me first. The other one was a sticker that said, "Speak your truth." It reminded me that I was no longer swallowing my voice. Now, you know how you put stuff up, like you hang a picture and you just kind of forget it's there and you don't see it anymore? I made a conscious effort to not do that. I made a conscious effort to see those tools that I put up every single day. You need to do the same thing. Do not let it fade in the background. This is hard work. It is constant. And trust me, there were days where I was like, I'm done with this. I'm tired. Too bad. You need to get through it because that's when you get that power back. The other thing you need to keep in mind when you're working through this is the tool of letting go. You need to realize when you're in a situation, if it is no longer serving you, it is okay to let it go. For me, it was the house. I had a mountain full of debt. I struggled for 18 months to save that house. Because I thought that's what I needed to do, right? That was a need. I need a place to live. I need a foundation. I need this thing. What I realized was that debt was sucking the power out of me. When I moved and I let go of that house, all of a sudden all these doors opened up. I found that adorable little house. My debt, I would get random checks in the mail to help me get out of debt. Like Sonora Quest is really going to refund, like I really overpaid them, but suddenly there's a $50 check in the mail. Verizon, I got a $172 rebate check. I have no idea what it's from. Random things started coming in the mail. I crawled my way out of debt once I let go of that house. But when I was in that house and I was struggling, I was cashing out 401ks, I was cashing out college accounts, nothing was getting me out. I was getting sucked deeper and deeper and deeper. You have to let go. When the situation no longer serves you or serves your needs, your values, or your beliefs, it's okay to let it go. The people around you might not like this new you. They might find it really difficult to deal with this new Pollyanna you, is what I used to get called. My parents thought I had a magical thinking problem, and they wanted to do an intervention. And I said, now the old me would have been like really angry. The new me was all, it's coming from the right spot, you're doing this out of love, but I do not need an intervention. I need your support. I need you to maybe not understand what I'm going through, but accept that this is me now. So you either get on this train or you don't. Which way is it? Bless you. The other thing I want you to do is I want you to avoid situations that put you back into your old habits. I heard somewhere that when you go visit your parents, and I'm going to use my parents because they are the perfect example of me becoming this docile, quiet little girl again, right? Swallow your voice, do what mommy tells you to do, that whole bit. So I read somewhere, or I heard somewhere, that when you go visit your parents, get a hotel room. Do not stay in their house. Set that boundary. You both need the space. You need the space to come back at night and reclaim your power. Because when you live in that house, especially if it's the house that you grew up in, you're just going to fall back into those old habits. Now for me, my parents came out in October. And I used the excuse that we have a very small house, which we don't, but it's small enough that I didn't want them there. And I paid for their hotel room. I said, you guys need to, here you go, there you go, go do that. It worked out wonderful because it both gave us the space that we needed. I think they were very thankful to have their own space. And I know I was, because it was kind of like after they left, you could sit there and just kind of go, okay. And you were able to kind of reassess, did Dad really mean that when he said that? Or did you think that, it just gave you the time to reclaim your power. To me, dealing with my parents was a challenge. I needed to make sure that I didn't fall back into that habit. Because like I said, I'm sure a therapist would have had a good time with it. I married a certain kind of person because based on what you were used to as a child, da-da-da-da-da-da. So that was one of my challenges, was dealing with my parents. That's kind of why I brought that up. But the other, and it goes back to everything, was the other challenge I had was communicating, period. Because I just didn't for a long time. Because who was going to listen to me? Nobody, so I just didn't communicate. So one of the challenges I had to deal with, and I used the visits with my parents and work situations, was I had to find a way to effectively communicate. So I call it compassionately direct. Because a friend of mine told me once, she's like, Wendy, you say everything that people are thinking, and it just comes out. I'm blunt. But that doesn't always work, because you can automatically put somebody on the defensive, right? And all of a sudden they're not listening. So you really have to be careful the way that you phrase your communication, because in order to retain your power, you don't want them to take control of the situation. You want it to be a constructive back and forth. But if you put them on the defensive, they're going to take control of that situation. So think about your communication styles in order to keep your power. Always, always, always speak your truth. That is essential in keeping your power. But you can be tactful or diplomatic in the way that you do that. And I can guarantee you that everyone in this room is more diplomatic than I am, because that's just not one of my skills.
What time is it, Lindsay?
It's 7:25. So we need need to, we're at
7:30, we're supposed to be on.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So, I guess my final thoughts are, just be brave enough to ask for help. That's a huge step in empowerment. Don't be afraid to say that you want your power back and figure out who you gave it to. Self-awareness is your foundation. Take your time and work on that. But most importantly, keep your focus centered on love. Remember, you are worthy of it. You deserve to be happy. You are worthy, period. So thank you for letting me talk forever. Thank you.